Hello and welcome to the Weekly Scroll podcast brought to you by the Adventure Archive. My name is Ryan.
And I'm Muckchop.
And I'm Neon Rot, or Will.
There we go. How are you doing this morning, Neon Rot, or Will?
I am very tired.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. It is UK 7:30, and I have been up since 5 a.m.
Well, we appreciate you
nice, easy
taking the time
14-hour
to
day.
come off. Yeah, that's it. So, so we're here to talk about a whole bunch of stuff, but I guess today, after we chat, Hunter and me are going to go through BDSM. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about BDSM?
Well, there's some sites that you can go to. No, BDSM, or Below Dwelling Super Mutants, is a tabletop RPG where you play horrifically disfigured mutants in a toxic radioactive sewer world, and it's very sort of chud, trauma. There's a little bit of Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland in there, and you're just constantly changing. You don't have a set sort of list of skills. In BDSM as a mutant, every time you eat something, you gain new mutations, which are your skills. Every time you are about to die, you can rip out skills, mutations, and heal yourself to full. You're a constantly changing amorphous blob. And
so it's like regular life. Yeah.
So it's like living in New York, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much.
But in the sewers, actually, Hunter and I were talking a little bit about this before you hopped in with us, trying to kind of describe BDSM, and I think we settled on, and tell us if we're wrong, it's like 80s, 90s sewer punk?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the phrase I use to describe it is sludge punk.
Yeah, cool.
That works. Yeah, absolutely. So what was the inspiration for sludge punk?
I made a bunch of single page RPGs, sort of, I think not last October, but the October before that, and I made a small game called Below Dwelling Super Mutants, where you just sort of roll a dice on a table, you get a piece of prey that you're fighting as a mutant, you kill the prey. When you kill the prey, you gain a mutation depending on the size of the prey, and then the next mutant does it, and then you just keep going until one of you either becomes human and the other person eats the other one, or you just become ridiculously strong and have to fight each other. And the style of it was sort of inspired by kind of bright, sickly colored horror movies of the 80s, sort of that neon blood that you get in old zombie films. The Stuff was a heavy sort of inspiration for it. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's like this pink.
I haven't.
Ooze. It's an old 80s film. There's something in the food. When you eat it, this pink ooze sort of rises out your throat, and
nice.
You turn into a zombie sort of thing.
All right. Yeah.
Street Trash is another huge inspiration. Similar sort of concept. And from that single page RPG, because that single page RPG was the most popular out of the RPGs that I did, and I figured, why not just make it into a full game? And by that point, I had this sort of pool system that I use for all my games, so I just applied it to BDSM and expanded the list of mutations.
Yeah, very cool. Very we go over a lot of different games on the show. Obviously, there's a lot of space game. There's a lot of fantasy game. I really like the whole ever changing sewer, neon blood sewer mutant. The color palette on this book is amazing.
I mean, It kind of fits our palette a little bit here. I'm gonna be honest, that's what really caught my eye when I first saw the zine, was that super bright, really just kind of gross, the green, the pink, everything. Definitely very, very eye-catching.
I whenever I see like a sewer in a game, I always want it to be bright and kind of 80s, like when you get those old tabletop miniatures from the 80s and they're like orange floor and green wall, and it's like all sewers are brown and dark green in video games, and I'm just like, I want them to be bright and weird and have mutants in them.
Yeah,
So there you go.
that nuclear runoff kind of color, you know?
Yeah. Back in the 80s and 90s, when people thought like toxic chemical spills just made you have powers, not gave you cancer and killed you. But yeah. But so what you said you made a lot of these like one-page RPGs. What kind of got you into designing games in the first place?
It was a multitude of things. I think part of it was my friend Alexi. I backed a game by his called They Feed on Fear, and I was just blown away with the fact that Alexi had like produced this from nothing as almost a one-man team. And I was like, I can do that. And the thing that kind of held me back quite a lot before that of making things was no support in my own art. Because it's kind of hard to present a game to someone and it just be a block of text and go, yeah, no, it's a really fun game, try it out. And then I also read Morkborg, and I think Morkborg was kind of the eye opener. I know it's kind of overplayed a bit now, but then I was like just so used to D&D and Pathfinder and all these little square boxes of text and tables, and then I opened Morkborg and it was like there's a table and it's like horizontally down the page and then there's blood splattered over it, and it's like, well, I don't need masses of graphic design to do that. I can
absolutely.
Which almost sounds like an insult, but it's not. I promise it's not. I love Morkborg and I think it's beautiful, and it highly inspired me to make some of the pages in my book sideways and do stuff like that.
Yeah, it's definitely very like maximalist, which I think blew a lot of people away when they first opened it. I mean, Johan's style with that really blew me away a little bit too, and you could definitely see some inspiration for that when you go through BDSM. I mean, it's, as you said, sideways pages, things in different directions and stuff, but I think it really fits that sludge punk vibe to have it just kind of like all over the place, kind of in your face and whatnot. So
art
this is
punk,
kind of
sludge aesthetic.
Yeah,
this is kind of peeking behind the curtain a bit, but I am not very good with InDesign. So I make all my PDFs in Photoshop. And there's not a dedicated Photoshop table creator. So something like that is a massive chore to do in Photoshop. So when I started doing the expansions, I'm just going to briefly talk about the expansion.
Please do. Talk about
go off.
MILFs. When I did the expansions, I was like, I don't want to do it because most of the expansions are tables. They're just new tables of things, and I didn't want to have to sit there and make that table over and over again because I didn't want every page to be the same. So I just started doing this. This is a table. Why not? That's a table, and that I can do in Photoshop in 10 minutes.
There we go. Nice. I really like the times when, as you're talking about with what you're doing, you aren't good at InDesign. You just had to do it in Photoshop. So you do it something different that inspires you to do something different. So it's not like something you're going to get from people that have done it a long time and follow the templates and use the same things and use the same software all the time. So it does have a sense of kind of sameness across things. When you have to kind of figure out a way to make it work, it can be something that looks totally different and feels totally different. And going through BDSM and MILF and CBT and everything, you definitely get that vibe that it does feel like a little bit different. And it's interesting to know that it came about because it's not done in layout software. It's just done in Photoshop. So that's neat that, you know, it kind of turned into something that was really unique for that reason.
And it almost, I love when game designers were sort of pushing the boundaries with stuff like the NES, and it's kind of that similar sort of vibe where it's like I don't have, I mean, I have access to it, but I'm restricting myself by not learning a broader program. So I'm restricting myself into only working in certain colors and only making tables in Photoshop. So
very cool though.
Yeah,
I mean, the product, you know, the product speaks for itself. You know, I mean, like it is incredibly unique. Like all three of them are incredibly unique in their style and like how they're laid out.
Thank you.
Yeah,
and the colors across all three are insane. And one of the things I love is that each one is like completely different. Like when you look at all three zines together, it's not like pink and green across all of them. It's all the same, you know, kind of vibe. It's all the same. You know, even the pinks across the back are different. Like, I love that it stayed consistent in the vibe, but has like a different style in each one individually, which it just makes, you know, I was talking about this with Hunter in the beginning. I love the three all together because you get the base game, and then MILF is basically the monsters that are too big that really you probably shouldn't fight, which is a really cool zine to have itself, and then like a skirmish tournament version too of the same game. So it's like there's a bunch of different ways to play the game, which is really fantastic, and a whole expansion to it too. So it's just a great like trilogy of zines. Is that it for BDSM?
No, there's a fourth one.
Is it already out?
No, it's not already out.
Okay.
It's in the works.
Ryan's like, why don't I have it?
Right.
It's called ATM, which stands for Abomination to Mutant.
Yeah, that's what that stands for. Yep. Not anything else. Yeah.
And it's just a bestiary. It's NPCs and locations and different monsters that you can kind of throw into your BDSM game.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
That's awesome.
Like, so really, I think that's a really, really appropriate addition for like everything else you already have. I think that's like a good supplement to have.
Oh yeah.
So the naming convention. Like obviously we have to ask. Okay, you have BDSM, you have MILF, you have CBT, and then now it's ATM. So has that just been a bit you've just kept going? And like, do you pick the acronym first, or what's your like? I need to know.
Is it a bit? I don't understand.
Well, I mean, like.
So Below Dwelling Super Mutants came to me just naturally somehow. I think I named it like Below Dwelling Sewer Monsters or something, or Below Ground Sewer Dwellers or something like that. And then I was like, I can totally just rearrange this to just be BDSM. And then since doing that, I've kind of had to stick to the bit. So I do kind of get the acronym first, but I've got like a big list of acronyms, and I'll kind of get like the first words like crocodile or abomination, and then I'll just go down the list and find one that starts with that word, and then just fill in the rest of the gaps. And I kind of did it solely so people who enjoy the game can go to their friends and go, do you want to play BDSM? I've got the MILF expansion. And
yeah, that's great. Even when we were talking on it's great, and the bit's great, and it's I feel like, you know, doing it with this game too, with like the gross sewer stuff, like it just feels like it fits, you know, and it's going to keep fitting. And ATM is fantastic. I can't wait for that. But even when we were talking on Twitter, when you reached out, I was like, so, you know, do you want to talk about like the glories of BDSM? And it's like, yes, absolutely. Let's just, I mean, however it works. So, yeah, no, it's I think it's fantastic. I think, like I said, it super fits the vibe of the entire game, and going and keeping with the consistency of the whole thing. One thing that you or one person that you did mention at one point is your buddy Alexi, and you've actually you reminded me right before stream start, you guys recently put out a game together called Liminal. Can you talk about first of all, how did you get did you know them first, or were they a friend of yours, or how did you get into a relationship with them as far as like design?
I backed their Kickstarter for They Feed on Fear, and then I joined a Discord that they set up for They Feed on Fear, and started talking to them about game design, and kind of went, oh, I've run a game of They Feed on Fear, and they were really interested. And then I started talking to them sort of in instant messages, sort of bouncing ideas back and forth. I think I made like a small hack for They Feed on Fear that just added like a bunch of minions or something. Um, and then I guess Alexi just saw that I had potential, I guess, and just messaged me out of the day, hey, do you want to make a game together? Like literally just that. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Because at that point I was like, oh my god, he's like really successful, because They Feed on Fear did wildly good on Kickstarter. And so we started kind of throwing ideas around, and Liminal was kind of very popular at the time, and we wanted to make a Liminal game, and we kind of talked about it, and we just started building it from I do sort of wild mechanics. Alexia is very more sort of kind of to the book mechanics and layout. So it was kind of a mash of both of it. So like Alexi kind of got the base mechanics in there. I mean, there was a lot where I'm not really sure what he did and I did, but then like the crazy creatures and stuff was just me tapping away at my keys and bringing up these weird entities in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic game, and I know it is a little bit of a different vibe than BDSM. I mean, the fact that it's black and white. But you know, I know you said that liminal horror was really big at the time, but this is something that's, I mean, it's definitely different. You know, it's like building your own kind of like back rooms kind of thing, like where. And tell me if I completely dismissed it. Like, whose idea was it first to have that be the basis for it, and then who just kind of like ran with it, or did you both kind of like decide, all right, let's do backrooms, let's do this kind of survival thing to go with it?
I think it was more a joint thing, because we kind of someone said first, oh hey, we should make like a backroom style game. And then one of us went, yeah, that sounds like a really good idea. And then we just ran from there. But I actually don't remember which one of us said it first. But we were kind of like half and half the entire way. So like I'd give him 50 rooms and I'd do 50 rooms. And then I'd go, hey, we should introduce this mechanic. And he'd put it in the rules. And then he'd go, hey, what about this mechanic? And we kind of rework it and put it in the rules. And yeah, it was pretty much a 50-50 split.
That's awesome. And then how was it, you know, working? Is this the first time you've on your project worked with somebody, especially someone who's done such amazing stuff that like Alexi has done? How was it like, you know, working with another person and really taking something and turning it into such an just a great game when you were done?
Yeah, no, it was really good. Actually, Liminal was the second game I wrote, like big game. I finished Web World, and then we finished Liminal, but it took so long for Liminal to kind of get the gears rolling on it that it almost looks like it's like the most recent game that we brought out.
Yeah, I mean, because it came with a lot of stuff besides just the game. Was it about getting all of that stuff together, putting all of it into like a package and actually getting all that stuff out? Is that the biggest? I know you said Web World is what you got done first, and this took a while to come out. Was this, and even putting Web World out too, which we haven't really touched on at all, actually getting it physically out and about, was that a much bigger undertaking than something like BDSM or CBT? Because as far as I know, when BDSM first came out, it was an Exalted exclusive.
Yeah, I mean the whole BDSM line is an Exalted exclusive. It's much easier to do this than it was to do Liminal, because Liminal was it was over 100 pages to begin with. And then we did all those extras, but we had to sort of source everything. So we had to find a printer within America that printed a map-sized piece of paper, but would also fold it down into a square big enough to go in the package, which was a ridiculous undertaking for some reason. You'd think that'd be easy. But something like BDSM, I can sort of finish the PDF and then send it over to be checked by Exalted, and within sort of a month they'd approve it, and it would go to print, and it would come out sort of next month. And it kind of helps that Exalted have this disposable income to throw at creators like myself.
Yeah.
And give people a chance like that.
And they also have their own like network of like printing and stuff that they've already built up that you can lean on as a creator. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I could see that being a ton easier than having to step out and do all that independently. So not to jump around subjects, but I'm gonna. So you just finished a project. A Kickstarter project was just finished out. Would you mind explaining to us? It's Choregaiden, right?
Yes, Choregaiden.
Choregaiden.
Hang on, I'll just grab it.
Oh, nice.
So, Choregaiden started as art. I was really inspired by an artist called Plastaboo to make some art, and I don't know how Plastaboo does their art, but again, not knowing how to do something and making my own way to do it made art like this, where I do this thing called urbexing, where I sneak into abandoned buildings completely legally and take photos. Cool. And so I took a lot of my urbexing art and then sort of edited it up in Photoshop. And then to get that Plastaboo effect that I wanted to get, I took a photo of the screen with a Game Boy camera and then connected the Game Boy to my PC, because it's like a flash cart. Loaded the save onto the PC, opened it in an emulator, and then screenshotted the image. And it came out like that.
Oh, that's sick.
That's so sick.
That's so cool. Hell yeah, that's awesome. So
sorry.
No, go ahead. Keep going.
I was showing the art to Alexi, and Alexi went, "You should make a game like that." And I was like, "Yeah, why not?" So I just kind of bashed this out in between Kickstarters and chucked it on itch.io, and it for some reason became my most successful digital game. I think I made like £400 on a digital release of this in the first sort of month, which is, for a digital release, is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so I decided to, like, because it was so popular, I decided to keep adding to it. So I'd update the file. I've got, like, I think it's on 1.8 now, and add sort of extra classes. They're called investigators in this, and eventually, you know, the natural progression, did a Kickstarter for a physical version.
And so this is like a horror investigatory, like, mystery game, right?
Yeah. It's very much inspired by a video game called World of Horror. So it's Ito Junji mysteries that don't necessarily need explanations. They're just happening, and you kind of have to get through them to the end of them or die.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Very cool. Yeah, I saw the Kickstarter, but I was like, oh, this looks sick. That's really interesting how you did the art. It explains why the art looks so freaking cool.
It does. It's so, like, I like to even think of, like, why don't I just do this and then plug it into, like, my Game Boy and then screenshot it. That's absolutely fantastic, and I love that inspired like a whole game, which I backed the shit out of this project, so I'm very excited to get it. But you talk in this, and a lot of your games have similar mechanics. So you have this core kind of mechanic you do with dice pools, and in this one you say, like, iris focus or the eyescape. Can you just talk a little bit about, like, this core mechanic that you use, and, like, you know, kind of what, like, sure, what drew you towards, like, dice pools? And
so I did dice pools. I'm not entirely sure where the dice pools came from. I think so. I wanted to run a game of Gumshoe, and I wanted to sort of run this game of Gumshoe for my friends who wanted to do a detective style game, and I'd sort of written this cyberpunk world, and I just needed a kind of mechanic to run this game. And I spent, I think, 2 days reading the Gumshoe system, and I couldn't understand it. No offense to Gumshoe, I just could not understand anything. So I was like, screw it. I'll do my own mechanics and I'll write them really simply and quickly. And I just did the dice pool thing. And I think it was a bit rough around the edges at first. I didn't have the kind of getting a dice back when you succeed, so people were dying really quickly. And then through playing the game, they were like, "Oh, this is really hard." I was like, "Okay, well, what if I do this? Every time you succeed, you get a dice back." And that session for my friends of doing this cyberpunk style detective game developed the dice mechanic. And then when it came around to making Web World, I just implemented that into the game. Web World was another one where the art came first. So Web World was made up of my urbexing art, and I'd drawn webs over all of it and giant spiders, and then just started posting it everywhere, and people were really liking it. And that was the first sort of idea where I was like, well, why don't I just make this into a game? This seems like it'd be a really cool world to kind of like survive in. And I don't have any physical game making experience, so I'll try that. And the webscape sort of thing came about where I was kind of thinking about how to cap someone who was playing Web World for sessions upon sessions upon sessions, and they'd got to level 100 and they had 20,000 dice in their dice pool. How do I stop them from just putting 10 dice into a check and succeeding?
Right.
So I gave them this kind of these key numbers that if they hit them, bad stuff happens, and you can't prevent the bad stuff.
It's a good limiter.
Yeah. It's a fantastic limiter. I mean, like in this one, at least in Korogaiden, it says here that it triggers the iris focus, causing the eyes of beings beyond comprehension to slowly open. That's such a just fantastic, pretty relatively simple mechanic. Like, you hit the right number, shit's gonna go bad. But just like the thought of you're playing this Junji Ito Japanese horror inspired game, and what you really don't want is something that shouldn't be watching you and slowly becoming aware of you, is just such a fantastic way to take a kind of a simple mechanic and make it so impactful in the game. So with that kind of dice pool system between Web World and between this, is your plan really with a lot of your games to kind of continue using that kind of core system that you've created and just keep adapting it from the Webscape to the Icescape and things like that?
Yeah. I mean, so the Webscape and the Icescape are the only kind of two BDSM, not BDSM, Web World and Shurigaiden are the only two that use this kind of number trigger system. The rest of them don't really have this number trigger system, but I want to use the pool mechanic, but I'm taking a system from something and making it my own, I want to change it slightly with every game, so it's always fresh and interesting for people who have played my games all the way through to just go, oh, okay, so that's a neat little addition to it. And a lot of the time I come up with the themes and the visuals of a game before I come up with the mechanics. So I'll try and create a mechanic that fits the world rather than create the mechanics and then goes, oh, I can make a world around that.
Yeah, you are a very art forward creator. It's very funny. We talked to a lot of creators, and the mentality that different creators use to create their own TTRPGs is there's always a little bit of there's a crunch person, there's a lore person, like an art forward person. So yeah, it's very interesting. It's I had the art and I saw the imagery. I'm like, how could you adapt around this? I'm like, makes a lot of sense, and it gives it a very distinct and unique feeling to your game, especially BDSM, which I've gone through. I really appreciate that. Very cool.
So besides, I know we jump all over the place, it's only our ADHD. Besides ATM, which first of all is when might we expect some ATM?
At some point this year.
Okay.
but I'm not sure when. I need to pitch it to Exalted again, because I've kind of lost my in with Exalted. There was a guy who was working there as their kind of printing guy, the acquisitions guy, and fantastic guy, Jarrett. Sorry, he's moved on and started his own company. And he would just take all of my BDSM stuff and just print it straight away. But there's a new acquisitions guy, so I've got to kind of repitch BDSM to this guy, even though it's already on their website and they're printing it. I've kind of got to sway him again.
Gotcha.
So I'm kind of working up to that.
Okay. And then besides ATM, what do you have anything else in the works after Jordan Gaiden gets sent out to everybody? Is there anything else besides that we can expect coming soon from Neon Rot?
Yeah. Well, obviously, Bone Bout still hasn't been sent out, but it's currently printing. And that'll go up on my store once it arrives, and I can send it out to other people. And obviously, Shura Gaiden will come up on my store. But past that and ATM, I want to do like a hardback special edition BDSM, which compiles all of the different games. And potentially get Plastaboo to do some new art for it. But Plastaboo is very, very busy at the moment. Plastaboo did the front covers of every copy of BDSM, except for CBT. CBT was me because Plastaboo was very busy with Vermis, game that book they brought out recently.
Oh yeah, I definitely ordered. I ordered the hell out of that one. Can't wait to get that one.
Yeah, Vermis is great.
Yeah.
And then so do a sort of hardback and then rewrite the rules and redo the design a little bit so it's kind of clearer. And then I'm working on a game. I was really inspired by the game Puppet Land to make a game without dice, so like a storytelling game. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you guys are aware of Puppet Land. It's a fantastic game.
Nope.
I'm actually not.
I'm Googling it right now.
Yeah. So it's a storytelling game rather than a tabletop RPG. And you play in character the entire time you're sat at the table. You cannot speak out of character. And if you want to speak out of character, if you want to go to the toilet, you have to stand up, and then when you're stood up, you're not in character anymore. And because of this, there's no dice rolling, there's no describing what happens. The only person that kind of gives you a view of the world is the GM, and the GM kind of tells it as though they were telling a story to a child, and you play all the characters. And I was really, really inspired by this. To make a I've got the mechanics for it, but I just need to kind of compile it and make the art. I've got a great artist in the works potentially, but I don't really want to say his name in case it doesn't happen. I want to make a game where the GM is a director of a B movie, and everyone plays actors, and you're doing a script read / shooting of the movie. And the thing that kind of constrains you is every time you break character to survive the horror movie, you go down a tier of actor from a A-list actor to a B-list actor to a C-list actor to a D-list actor. And every time you survive to the end of the horror movie, you go up a tier of actor because you're the last person to survive.
Very funny. That's
very
cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I love the idea of a diceless game, especially one that's so completely narratively focused. I've never heard of Puppet Land, so I googled it, and I'm going to snag it right after the thing comes off. But that sounds like an awesome premise to a game. It's basically like if you're sitting down, you're in the game, and you can't not be in the game. And converting it to the concept of a B movie seems like such a fantastic way to use a similar mechanic. But like a D movie in like an 80s narrative, or a D actor in like an 80s movie, like horror ttrpg just sounds so awesome. Like I can't. That's great. And then I'll tell you what, in a heartbeat would I get a hardback book of all of these together. So I'm very, very excited to get ATM and then get all of these in there. That sounds really, really fantastic. Yeah, Yeah, so that's the plan. Is you have multiple games that you've created and published that are still getting physically put out. A fourth book for BDSM. What did you say the title of this potential B movie Puppet Land hack?
No, so the working title is Video Nasty, because it will be a Video Nasty production. You always kind of make the Video Nasties.
Yeah.
And then I want every copy, so not just a special edition, I want every single copy, which might put the price up a bit, to be in a VHS case and be the constraints of a VHS case so that you can take it out and read it. And that's something I need to Kickstarter, and I have to source VHS cases and get a printer who'll do like a cover for them, but it should be fun.
Sounds cool.
It definitely sounds cool. It definitely sounds like the vibe, even though like a lot of your games kind of are a little, I want to say all over the place, but you have a lot of different styles of games. There's this consistency throughout that's really, really cool. And I think it's, as Hunter said, that, you know, one of the reasons is because you have such an art first focus on your games, considering a number of them were literally art first and then came about the game. So it's really neat to see that. And especially going back to the 80s vibe, like BDSM with this would be really, really cool to see. So, you know, speaking of your projects and stuff, where can people find all of your stuff? Because I'm pretty sure it was very recently you just opened your own shop, but, you know, your itch page and your shop and all that.
Yep. So I've opened a Ko-Fi shop. My Ko-Fi shop is that is the Zoom support page, not my Ko-Fi shop. So my Ko-Fi shop is ko-fi.com/neonrot. And there's a little shop tag there, and you can buy all the games. And if you put Lost Stitch Count, you'll get 5% off Liminal.
Nice.
Lost all caps. And then I have an Itch.io where I sell digital copies of my games. If you buy a physical copy, I'll send you an Itch.io link to claim a digital copy anyway. But my Itch.io is neon-rot.itch.io.
Nice. And then, as you said, you know, you can buy all of the physicals on yours. And then, you know, Exalted still has, you know, I think, you know, they still have all of that stuff too. So highly recommend that. You know, here in just a minute, we're going to be actually reading through BDSM. Going through, you know, rating and reviewing it. Preview, we like it a lot. It's fun. So you definitely want to stick around and watch that. But hey, listen, I really appreciate it. I know you reached out on Twitter and we were able to make this work. And I know you're in the UK and the time zones are a little bit off, but really appreciate you coming on. It's been fantastic to talk to you and get your approach to the game.
Thanks for having me on. This has been great. You guys are great.
Yeah. Thanks. So if you're in chat, stick around. We're going to go to a BRB and come back and go through BDSM. And if you're listening to this episode in podcast land, we might split this one. We'll see. And if so, just click the next one and you will hear us talking about BDSM. So we will be back in just a moment. And once again, Neon, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome back to the Weekly Scroll podcast. I am, just in case we split this into two, I'm Ryan.
And I'm an acid-spitting mutant.
Yes, you are. And we are here chatting about BDSM, the Below Dwelling Super Mutants from Neon Rot. Just in case we do split this into two, once again, if you're listening to this episode, make sure you listen to the previous one where Neon Rot was actually on, and we got to chat with them about BDSM and ATM and, you know, MILFs and all sorts of wonderful stuff.
This episode's going to get flagged on YouTube.
all the best stuff. All the best stuff.
We're going to talk about MILFs and BDSM, do some CBT.
A little bit CBT. Yeah. Can't wait for the ATM is all I'm saying. But we are actually going to hop right into read through and do our first, I think this is our first official, like, new version of a zine score.
Yeah, we're doing this. Yeah. Hey, listen, we did it, y'all. Only, you know, like a year too late, we created a rating system for zines because we're really good at stuff.
Hey, and that means that we're going to go back and rate all of them all over again sometime in the future, but not today. But
not today. We don't know when, but sometime.
Sometime we are going to hop into BDSM and cruise through this awesome sludge punk game. Here we go.
I'm ready.
BDSM, Below Dwelling Super Mutants. Love the cover art for this. I think, we talked about it a little bit on the interview, and I think we're probably on the same mind. The style of this and the colors and the vibes through the fucking roof.
Oh, I have a strong feeling that when we go back and rate other zines and we talk about like vibe, that this one is kind of like a standout, like high end. Like the vibe is so strong in this. Like the art reinforces it so well. Like it very cool.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I think when we get to vibes at the end and have to explain it, like you just said, I think this will be the perfect example for it, where everything reinforces itself all the way through. Perfect. Yeah, love the cover art. Love the mutant here. When I got the physical of the game, it actually came with some stickers here.
Stickers are so cool.
The stickers are dope as fuck. It's half the reason I wanted to get it, was just like that actually comes with stickers too. Love this. Love the art. And as Neon Rot said before, and even the background, like I just love like this, like
background's so cool. Yeah.
It reminds me of like blood cells under a microscope kind of thing. But this is created by Neon Rot, written by Neon Rot, with some interior stuff from Neon Rot and Alexi Vela, with the cover by Plastiboo. Amazing stuff. When I get Vermis, the kind of like lore book to a game that doesn't really exist, I'll definitely be showing that off on stream. It's really, really beautiful. And then, but yeah, Exalted Funeral, Jarrett Crater, all that nice stuff. But again, everything all the way through, really, really killing it. So getting going right here in Below Dwelling Super Mutants. Welcome to the Undermuck, the slimiest, greenest, sludgiest sewer system you've ever seen. In fact, it should be the only one you've ever seen, as you were born here, Mutie. I think we've talked about this before. I love when the narrative has a narrator. You know what I mean? So
okay, I'm listening. Yeah, I know. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Like when the words are talking to you, not just like being words. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Yeah, not just wording. They're saying something to you specifically.
They're directly wording,
Yeah. Here it's a mute world where the strong evolve, growing arms and splitting mouths, and the weak become soft, oozy, and squishy as they're consumed by the sludge. You got a gang? Well, get one. Basically, you find other muties, you team up, and you survive in the muck-filled tunnels. Watch your back, all that. So Mutant BDSM is a sludge punk tabletop RPG about mutants living and hunting in the sewer system, locally called the Undermuck. Yeah. And again, it's interesting to know now that all of this is done in Photoshop with not InDesign or anything.
I know.
Yeah. It's dope. So the Undermuck is the long, winding, labyrinthine tunnels that connect various cisterns and pump stations of the sewers. And those cisterns are often full of ramshackled structures and huts made from metal and rotten wood. Everything in the Undermuck is permeated with sickly, saturated green slime and yellow sewage that mutates and rearranges everything it touches. It is lit by buzzing neon safety lights, caked in grime. The GM in this game, I love when GM gets adapted to other things, or DM, Dark Master, all this stuff. The Mutation Master is the narrator of the game.
The MM.
You run it. Yeah, the MM.
Mommy Milkers.
Yep. The Canucks. Not Canadians. Canucks are small tumors found inside beings wandering around the Undermuck for long enough and even growing from the walls and floors. They're traded by muties all over as a form of currency. A good juicy Canuck can be cooked for a delicious flavor or eaten raw as an oozy snack. Love that.
I hate that. I love it, but God, do I hate it.
I love it. Muties are the residents of the Undermuck, horrifically mutated humans and animals changed and molded by toxic chemicals of the sewers into things beyond human, barely retaining the memories of their past selves. Main source of food are rots, sewer gators, and lost humans. And yeah, so you get to be a mutie in this bright, glowing, putrid sludge punk sewer known as the Undermuck. So, getting right into it, creating a mutie. A player names their mutant first. Ratma, Globula, Chud for sure. I mean Chud, come on.
Chud for sure.
Kevin. I love that. It's so perfect. It's up to them to decide. They then describe their mutant something simple, such as the skeleton suspended in the shifting yellow flesh or a humanoid pile of sludge with 8 eyes. Then they roll 2d10 on the small mutation table, re-rolling repeats. Or if a 10 is rolled, for their first mutations and add 4 plus 1d4 to their gene pool max. So we'll go through those in a second. What those are. All mutants have 5 health unless the skill changes that value. This value cannot be upgraded normally as mutants are squishy creatures. I love that. Yeah. I love systems where it's just like, here's a shitty low level of health and that's all you get.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah. We love a good semi-lethal, Yeah,
I mean, this game is pretty fucking lethal.
Oh, yeah, or just lethal,
Just straight up. And then each mute begins with 3d8 Canucks. A little juicy ooh snacks. So, the gene pool, as was mentioned earlier, every mutant has a pool of d4 dice at their disposal. This represents their ever-changing body as it swirls in the slush of the Undermuck. Before starting the game or after resting, the mutant rolls every d4 in their gene pool and keep these dice on hand. These are their gene points or GP. The value does not change until the next time a mutant rests. These values are used for skill check and attacks. A mutant may use any amount of GP from their gene pool in a check, adding the numbers together for their total GP in the check, removing those numbers from the pool. I love this. I love this mechanic.
It's a really good use of like a dice pool,
Well, and you roll them all first and then choose which ones you're going to use for the things you want to use it for.
Yeah.
Which is really clever. It's kind of like portents, I guess, in 5e for like that one specific type of wizard that can, but it's all your dice, which is really cool. Yeah, it's neat.
It really is. Yeah. I like that a lot.
Yeah. I mean, because sometimes you're just gonna have to choose to fail, you know what I mean? Which is interesting. And just choice mechanics in games in general is something that's incredibly underutilized, or at least done with less intent than it could be. A mutant's gene pool can be empty, so a player should be careful not to use too many GP at any one time. A player should remember, however, that a mutant's gene pool does not replenish until they rest, and a mutant may, if they wish, remove a mutation of their choice to replenish their GP to max, ripping a weaker part of them out to return their body to a mutated state.
Very cool.
So
very great,
cool.
Very good trade-off, like another aspect of like a choice mechanic, it's like, lose this, gain this,
Yeah, like you can replenish your gene pool, but you lose some of your power because you rip off the mutations that help you. Like, ugh. And again, I love the art. Like, not that it's like that different, but specifically this like lumpy bit right here.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's just because it's the against the dark green background or whatever. Love these lumps.
We love the lumps.
Love them lovely lady lumps. Resting, safe areas, and skill check. So resting basically says you can only rest when you're in a safe area, not being attacked. So resting takes 30 minutes for the average mutant and replenishes all health lost to max and resets all GP to max. So basically, resting is resting. You rest, you get all your shit back.
You can do
safe
that.
Area.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, a safe area is entirely up to the MM, but yeah, it is. And then skill checks. Whenever an MM wishes to test a player or decides that an action described by a player needs a skill check, the MM asks that player to overcome a value based on the difficulty of the check. So we're doing a rollover situation here. The difficulty of the check is determined by the MM. A player then uses their GP to try and overcome the skill. If that player does not have enough GP to succeed, they fail to do what they set out to do, and the MM describes the consequences. Love a good consequence system, something that's not just you fail. Love it. And I like on this page these little like sewer drain bits on the side.
Oh yeah, the pipes along the side. Yeah.
Pipes.
I'm so center focused. I miss some of the small details inside. There's like visually a lot going on without it being overwhelming.
Oh my god.
Like,
yeah, I mean,
it's definitely
sometimes
easy to read all the way through.
Oh, for sure.
But just so like if you look in the background, there's shapes and there's movement in the color. Like I really appreciate that, you know? Very trippy.
It is very hardcore maximalist, and you can definitely see the Merkborg inspiration, which is not a bad thing. I mean,
No, I don't think it's a bad thing. I know it's a little. I know Neon Rod said this, and I think we could all agree that it's kind of a dead horse. But like that's not to say like it's not incredibly influential, and I think this is like a great product of the influence, except that I would say that this is easy to read all the way through, which Merkborg is not. Like I'm just saying I can read all
I mean, I don't disagree. I think Merkborg's a lot easier to read than people think it is once they understand the way in which to read it, I guess.
Totally.
Like
absolutely. Listen, I don't disagree with that, but I could read this the first time through.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And then there's a little table here, skill check difficulty. It basically just says easy to medium for hard 8, but so it's like there's lines because it's not in the right order, which I love for some weird reason. Like it's
you ever take one of those tests and then school where you're like, here a bunch of
yeah, love it. I love it for no reason, but it's great. Okay, so whilst not in a safe area, when not in view of any other prey, a mutant may make a prey check, Prey. Ain't no gods in the sewer. To search for prey among the sludge and slime of the tunnels, the mutants then enter a battle with any prey they discover. The checking player rolls a single d4, not from the gene pool, and refers to the prey table below as the MM describes how and what they come across. All prey encounters should be mutated in some way. An extra eye, third arm, regular humans are the exception. So basically, if you're not something else's prey, you can roll prey checks to find prey. And I love that about this.
Dude, I know that I have like a player at my table who's always like a crusty, like sludgy character, no matter what he plays. I'm like, oh, he would fucking love this. This would be so great for him.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're 100% gonna play this. Like this is
absolutely
perfect for side quests.
Like it's so like it's a zine. It's very lightweight, and it's like the rules like cool. You like here. It's a dice pool. You pick him at the beginning. Like that's it, and then you just need to beat values.
It's also one of those games that's just fun. This reminds me of Himbos, not in that it is anything like Himbos, but it's one of those games where you're just like, it's not standard ass fucking Western European fantasy. You can just be goofy and fun with this. Like just being a slimy fucking mutant goof, like Kevin, the mutie. Like I don't know. You
can play a Futurama based.
Dude, oh my god, dude. This is hardcore Futurama. Yeah. So anyways, prey. The D4 prey table, you got on a 1, a 2, and a 3, and a 4, and a 1, you get nothing. The sludge is not your friend. 2 is a small rodent, a rat or varmint. 3 is a medium, a varmint there. 3 is a medium creature, such as a wandering lost human or a rabid dog. Stupid cat. 4 is a large beastie like a sewer gator or some sort of mutant bear. Note, other NPC mutants always count as large prey. Yep, fuckheads. If an MM creates a creature for the players to fight outside of rolling on this table, they must assign it to a size of small, medium, or large. Some creatures are extra large, but they are known as boss mutants, and it is advised to base whole campaigns around them. More on them later. That could be... MILF, the second season in the series. Mutants in large form. Gotta love them MILFs.
Mutants I'd love to.
Yep. So, travel triggers, battle and attacks. This is what's next. So, travel triggers. If any or all player mutants travel between 2 large safe areas, such as a city, town, or place of interest in the sewer, even if they have made their own prey check, the MM should make a prey check for the players and describe how the prey approaches and attacks a mutant. Most prey is easily startled and prone to attacking. Battle and attack. So basically, even while you're hunting, you're being hunted. And again, I love that vibe of the game that you always have to like be looking over your shoulder, even while you're trying to do stuff. Like it's just such a great.
Sewers are a dangerous place,
Yeah. Seriously. When a mutant or mutants attack something or something attacks them, all mutants present enter battle. Each mutant taking part rolls a d4 to determine turn order, highest first. So we have standard initiative with the d4. Drawing players roll a d4 against each other to determine. So ties. Right. Ties were off. Once turn order is determined, it's useful for the MM to note this down. Yep. Write it down. After a player takes a turn, the prey they are fighting always has a turn after, giving the prey a turn per mutant in the battle. I love that.
Yeah.
Because it's not like a D20 system or whatever. Like you're using your gene pool for like everything that you do. So if you attack something, it always gets to attack you, and that's a really easy way to have like all of the good guys and bad guys like all go. Like really clean. Yeah.
Also cleans up the action economy. It's hard to overwhelm something super easily if it can attack for even though there's only one thing, it can attack for every person on the battlefield, essentially, right?
Yeah, absolutely. During a mutant's turn, they must use GP to match or overcome a prey's defense, removing them from the mutant's gene pool until the pool refreshes. This deals 1 damage for a match and an extra 1 damage per every point over a prey's defense unless changed by mutation. Refer to the table below for prey's defense based on their size. Defense is information players are allowed to know. HP of a prey is information only the MM should know. So players know the defense that they have to beat, but not how much they have.
Totally. And that makes sense. They can make decisions. It's funny. They're like, you have to really watch your resources in this, because it's all the same pool. And I feel like, well, do we need to kill this thing quickly? Are we all about to die? It's like, well, am I gonna have to burn like a really good GP die for this, like to get high over their defense or do a ton of damage all at once? I like this. It's like, because it's like an amazingly simple system, but also there's like a good level of decision-making depth that the players have to make. And I really appreciate that. I want them to be my players to learn rules at the table easily, but I want those rules to still have a level of like choice and depth. And this is a great example of choice and depth of rules.
Yeah, absolutely. It's again, as we said before, like intention in the choice design mechanics of the game, because resource management is choice design, like now versus later choices and all those kind of things. And as you said, like this game is really resource management heavy, which I also like is still adding to vibes and whatnot, because the rule set, I mean, you're in a fucking sewer. You're not going to have an endless set of resources. So it's really clever way to make the mechanics of the game reinforce the vibe and the story and the lore of the game as well. So yeah. A mutant may, if they want, attempt another action in battle. MMs should make appropriate checks for this action, which could lead to damage to a prey. So anything other than attack, such as using an item, activating a mutation, is considered a free action. You may do any amount of free actions as long as it seems doable. I love that. It's not like you only get 3, you only get this. It's just like, if it seems like it's fucking reasonable, if you're not doing a million goddamn things, sure, why not? Like, why not? So there's a very interesting sideways table here of prey, size, defense, and health. So small defense and health is 4, and health is 1d4. Medium defense is 8, health is 1d8. Large defense is 12, 1d12. I don't know if you notice a pattern and a theme there. And extra large defense is 20, and health is not applicable, because we'll talk about MILFs another time. So during a prey's turn, the MM rolls a dice equivalent to the prey's defense from the above table as it attacks a mutant that last attacked it in turn order. If that prey rolls above the defending mutant's number of mutations, it deals 1 damage to that mutant. Then the turn order passes to the next mutant. So there's a lot of times where you're really only going to do 1 damage.
Right.
Unless you really blow a lot of your GP to go above and beyond that. Right. So, I mean, if you get to a large mutant that has 12 health, that's a lot of potential hits that you're hitting, where you can only maybe do like 1 or 2 per attack on it if you exceed its thing. So that's a lot of resources right down the drain. So
you're definitely killing characters in this game.
Oh yeah. Well, you're also gonna have characters that are like basically just constantly ripping their mutations and powers off their body,
refresh. Yeah,
just to refresh, because you're just fucking, you are prey at that point. You have nothing that you can do. On death, a prey drops the number of Canucks equal to their defense. Again, clean.
Perfect.
No need to roll, no need to do anything. So, multi-prey battles. Sometimes more than one prey turns up to fight. In this case, each prey takes an equal amount of turns each and is placed in the turn order equally between the players, with small prey leading and large extra large prey going back. In multi-prey battles, mutants may choose who to attack on their turn. The MM must make the prey attack the last person who attacked it. We talked about it before. Again, super easy way to do it.
Yeah.
And then there's escaping and mutation loss. So this is obviously going to be a very important part, because guess what? Sometimes you're going to run. This is a game where you can run. Probably should run sometimes. So escaping. During a player's turn, instead of attacking, a player may choose to try and escape. They're now infuriated prey. They do this by performing an escape check. The escaping player rolls a d20. If they roll below or equal to the prey's remaining health, the player fails to escape, and the player's turn ends as the prey makes an extra free attack.
And murders you right there.
I love that. The escaping player rolls a d20, and if they roll below or equal the player's remaining health. So the lower you get the bad guy's health, the better it is for you to escape, because you have to roll above. So if they have 12 health left, you have to roll above a 12. If they have, 5 health left, you have to roll above a 5. So the more damage you do, the easier it is to escape. But again, it's a d20, so it's 5%. I mean, you're just reducing percentages. Damage and mutation loss. All mutants have 5 health, which is recorded on a player's character sheet. Whenever a player takes damage from anything that health reduces by 1, for every 2 health lost, a player removes a random mutation from their mutant as their mutant's body is slashed and torn, the genes changing and morphing from the pain. If a mutant hits 0 health, they lose a random mutation and are knocked out. They must now be revived. So you can rip your mutations off to regain your GP, but every 2 health, you lose one of those too. So it's just compoundingly worse. There's definitely this like negative feedback loop here,
right? Where
the worse things get, the worse things get.
Little entropy loop,
Yeah, it's it can get bad fast. So reviving mutants. A PC mutant may revive another mutant by using 3 of their GP, removing some of their ever mutating flesh and adding it to the injured mutant. This returns the injured mutant to 3 HP.
That's expensive.
So you're literally taking off some of your mutant goop, sticking it in the body of your buddy and keeping them going. But I kind of like this concept that there's really not like a lot of permanent death, because you're just knocked out. There's no death check or anything. You're just out. You can just drag them back, if you can, to a safe spot, heal up, bring it back, do what you got to do. So prey, death, and consuming prey. When a prey is killed, the mutant that killed it claims the body, feeding on the warped flesh. So killer gets to eat the body. Only that mutant gains
just like
any
real
boons.
life.
Yeah, exactly. Like keep what you kill. You know what I'm saying? Only that mutant gains any boons from consuming the enemy. I love that. If you killed it, you're the only one that can get the goods. That player rolls on the appropriate mutation table for that prey, gaining whichever mutation they roll as their body absorbs the DNA of the being they just ate. They also gain back health equal to 1 prey defense, so whatever they had, and gain 1d of Canucks. Got to get those Ds.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just bought a Cadillac.
Except when killing extra large prey, which is where 2 times rolls on the large mutation. They also gain 1d prey defense plus 3 extra GP dice to their gene pool for each prey consumed. So your gene pool can get big.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you're killing left and right, you get 3 extra dice per kill. You can have a gene pool of like 20 plus D4s. So, but if you're fighting MILFs, you need all the Ds you can get.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Alternatively, an MM may remove combat from a campaign, instead giving players mutations by rewarding quests, which can be consumed for mutations, quests with meat. So another mutant may attempt to snatch the prey from the winning mutant, in which case both mutants roll a d4 equal to the remaining GP and compare scores. So you can try to steal prey from your buddy, and it's a roll-off. So, you know, I love that, you know. Highest wins and draws are re-rolled. Remember, just because they are light PvP elements to BDSM does not mean you should play aggressively or take it personally. What happens in the sewer stays in the sewer. I like that. You want to like poke at your buddy a bit, maybe you steal one or two. Just don't keep it at the table. You know what I'm saying?
It is a good note to have, you know?
Yeah. Alternatively, the winning mutant may share their kill with the other mutants of their choice. Small prey cannot be shared, only given. Medium prey can be ripped in half as 2 times small prey, and large prey as 2 times medium prey. Extra large is 2 times large prey, etc., etc. I love this little guy right here. This little happy face, smiling slime thing with eyes and the little mouth. Eyeballs. Yeah, love that. Love that. Okay, so here's a sideways. This is mutant death. Okay, I'm actually just gonna straight up.
I have it rotated on mine, so
yeah, I'm gonna rotate this page. So mutant death. When a mutant's health is reduced to 0, that mutant faints and is removed from the turn order. That player removes a mutation of their choice from their mutant's mutations, and the other mutants, if they wish, may take that mutant to a safe area to rest after the battle to revive them. Otherwise, the fainted mutant is claimed by the sludge as they slip under the surface of the yellow-green goop. If the mutant removes their last mutation, they become human again, reverting to prey, and the other mutants cannot resist attacking that prey on the spot to consume it. The player must then create a new mutant. So that's how you die, is getting rid of your last mutation, because you wouldn't be a mutant anymore. But I like that it gives you the option to just be fainted, taken to a safe area, rest, and keep going.
It's like, yeah, you lose your last mutation, and then all of your buddies can't help but eat you alive.
I love it. I'm a big fan. I really, again, we talked about this numerous times already, but I love that the mechanics and like every aspect of this game reinforces every other aspect of the game.
Totally, absolutely.
Really, I mean, that's exactly what you want.
Nothing feels out of place and everything feels perfectly appropriate.
Yep. And every time you come across some rule that just makes you chuckle a little bit and like put your head down for a second and be like, yeah. Yeah. So shops and eateries around the Uttermuck, hidden in alcoves and opened under awnings or various shops and eateries. These places are run by mutants, trading their wares for a solid handful of Canucks. Some of these items may be used to hunt, some even used to augment a player's mutation. So there is a number of things here that have Canuck values that you can buy. So for 22 Canucks, you can get a radioactive big burger patty, a disgusting oozing patty dropped in the Uttermuck from above. It grants a mutant a new medium mutation. Love that. For 8 Canucks, you can get a rat on a stick. And not toxic enough to grant further mutation, but does give you 3 HP. So basically, that's your health potion, rat on a stick. For just 2 Canucks, you get a vial of green water, which allows you, on use, resets a mutant's GP, re-rolling each GP dice still available. Love that. And for 55 Canucks, you can get a power glove, a gauntlet that systematically injects the wearer with green water. When the wearer uses a GP, they re-roll the dice and add it back to the gene pool. Must be refilled each fight with a vial of green water. I love that you can buy a bunch of Canuck, you can buy a power glove, you can buy a bunch of green water, and whenever you use your GP, re-roll it and stick it back in. You basically have endless GP at that point, as long as you have enough green water. Yeah. And then a rope, 3 Canucks, 50 feet of rope, because you gotta have 50 feet of rope. That's how
you have to, you know.
I've never heard of a rope that was longer or shorter than that.
I have a 70-foot rope in my closet. So
dude, I feel like is mine a 70? I feel like mine's a 70, but it's so old at this point I would never climb on it.
I'm dumb. Mine's a 70-meter rope.
Oh god, can you imagine a 70-foot rope on the wall?
Yeah.
Anyway, extra large prey. In the dangerous world of the Undermuck, sometimes large mutants crop up. Their health rolled by the separately, depending on the extra large prey is being fought. Elps are generally much larger than most other mutants, and they are the large boss monster of an entire campaign. So Southbound was a giant mutant gator, just like the rest of them. Then one day she found her way onto an underground railway and consumed a train carriage, absorbing every human inside and rapidly growing in size. The mechanics of the train reacted to the mutagens inside her and fused with her. Now she can be recognized by the large beams of warm halogen light that stream from her eyes as she sweeps the tunnels hunting for prey, as well as a loud train horn that emanates from her mouth. So Southbound, HP 1d20 plus 8. I love, first of all, the art that it's a gator. Second, that it's got the beams coming out of its eyes. And third, that the light is shining on what her HP is. I love that. And then the mechanics, she has a large claw, which is +5 to attack rolls. Overwhelming wave. In battle, Southbound deals an extra point of damage for each point it succeeds over a mutant's defense. And a rapid mutation. If a mutant dies in battle, Southbound consumes them, healing D8 HP. So you ain't coming back from a battle with Southbound.
Oh shit! And
she heals. Yeah, I love the shit out of that.
I do too. Also, I just like the extra large, like ultra boss prey. You know, like and the sewer theme. It's like, you know, what about all the goldfish that have been, you know, like flushed down the sewers through all of time. You know.
It's and I love that it specifically says like it is a campaign boss monster. Like this is a thing, like, you know, if you're just fucking around going through whatever, but if you want like a story to whatever you're doing, it is a hunt on for Southbound, you know. And I really enjoy the way that that's brought in, and like you said, made its own thing. There's another one here called Quadraback, which is a great silverback gorilla. There's one called Trix, which is a giant owl. There's Mudhead. Yeah, right. It's a regular old mutie until a massive cave-in in the town known as Sinkhole City, where the center of the huge cistern fell through into the underground dumping site for radioactive sludge. Mudhead was caught up in it. So there's a list of like 4 of these ELPs, I call it over here. And then we get to the mutation table. I will say I kind of wish this table was a little bit early, but I think all of the tables are at the end, and that's kind of the point. Yeah. 6. So it's got a small, medium, and large prey. So when a mutant consumes prey, refer to the correct mutation table and roll D10 for a new mutation, unless splitting the prey. Mutations stack and are randomized, or if the wants an easier time for its player, they may choose mutations upon receiving them. Each mutation has a GP cost and trigger, etc., etc. So do you want to roll? You want to roll a D10 and just
6?
That's what you said 6 for. Yeah. All right. Wait. On the
hundreds of
table?
eyes blink open across the mutant's flesh. It sees all possibilities. The player re-rolls any number of the mutant's gene pool. The player accepts its new fate.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's a medium prey mutation that you just rolled on.
I'm gonna roll on the. You want to? I'll do large prey right now too. You know.
All right. I'll roll one. I'll roll 1d10 to
for small prey.
For the small prey. Yeah.
For large prey, I got mind jump. A gland in the mutant's brain lets them see through the eyes of a smaller medium prey within 500 feet radius. This causes the mutant to become sympathetic for the prey. They jump into it and feel great remorse for attacking or killing it. They will never eat this prey.
Nice.
Yeah.
My small one, I got a 2. The GP cost, because on the table it lists, you know, the D10, then the GP cost. This one costs 1 GP. The trigger is anytime. Some of the other ones are like battle, when taking damage, things like that. The name is the Bulging Cranium. This mutant's brain doubles in size, causing extreme headaches to them, little hydrocephalus. At the cost of 1 HP, it may roll a D4 and replace 1 GP in their gene pool with the result. I like that. So you sacrifice health for GP back.
Nice.
Which is cool. Yeah, I love that. It's a great little mechanic. So that's the 3 tables at the end. Then we got a character sheet, which is really fucking simple because honestly, there's not a whole lot going on.
Yeah.
Mutant name. Yeah, you can draw a little photo or something. You can list the mutations on the side. HP in this kind of like heart-looking blob here. Gene pool in this like green bulge off to the side, and that's all you need. And then there is like a 2-page kind of breakdown spread of the Undermuck a little bit. As recorded by Clar, the first mutant to map the sewer. So it's a very like, it looks like a mutant sketched it out. And I love that. I love the vibe, and that's how it's done. You got, and it says not to scale. You got the bins, you got Tony's rainbow barge, you got Durton, Trixton, the Fume, South Slime. I love that. It's Gator Country, Bovetown, Sinkhole City, a giant muty skeleton. I love I love that it's just enough to be like, okay, you know.
Yeah,
and then you can just keep going with whatever. And then something we always love, always love, and we're not going to read it. A whole page example of play. Again, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but really, really love that. I mean, here's the thing: is the game is super simple. It's not hard to grasp. Regardless, it's really nice to do that. So that is it. There's a license on the back that talks about what you're allowed to do. It's got some compatibility logos. And that's it. And this is the back cover. So there's 2 other books we're not going to go through, but just to show him a little bit, there's MILFs, which is Mutants in Large Form, which is basically like a whole zine full, like supplement for those big ass ELPs. Lots of amazing content. I'm really excited. So we get what amounts to like an ELP, a MILF bestiary, and then 18 is going to be a standard bestiary. Having those 4 zines together, the game, a little bestiary, a big bestiary, and then the skirmish game version, genius.
Yeah, really, genuinely. And I said this earlier. I was like, those are all really great supplements. Like, that's a very complete. Like, I would be excited to see all of this released as like a big book. You know?
Well, that's what he said. That's what he said.
I know. He said, like, I'm really excited for like, oh, I'm definitely getting that. I think this is really cool. You know?
Yeah. It's so fucking cool. And again, and then so this one right here, CBT, this is the one that Neon Rod did the cover art for instead of Plastaboo. But this is Croc Battle Tournament. And this is a skirmish game, like tournament style, where you use the core rules, but it's like arena combat, which I fucking love. So, but yeah, so we're not going to cruise through those, but that is below Dwelling Super Mutants, and then the 2 supplements, MILF and CBT. So, as we said, this is going to be the first game to rate the zine in our new system. So the reason, and let me kick over to that page real quick, that we use a new system for zines is because there's some that like you can't really compare a lot of the zines. You can't compare Knave to you know, like the Black Hack, you know what I mean, or like or Merkborg, right? There's a lot of them. There's not, you know, with the 5 that we used before, art, you know, layout, all the rest of that. Some of them don't have enough of those things to justify giving them a score compared to, you know, 40, 50, 60, 80 page book. Like this is honestly like 20 something pages, and really it's only like, you know, 15 pages without like the bestiary and everything else. So using something a little bit different, instead of 5 scores, we broke it down to 3, and we chat about this, the 3 scores. So the total will be out of 30, not 50. So this is how we're going to do zines, unless we think that it's not cool, and then we'll change it. But the 3 that we're going to do are visuals, which is kind of art and style and layout and everything all together. It's basically when you look at it, you know, how does it look? You know, art, layout, everything. Rule set, because honestly, the games have to have rules, you know, because guess what? System matters. And then vibes. So vibes is kind of the wild card, kind of like originality in the other system that we have. Right. It's the vibes. It's how
much it all goes together. Like how much both the visuals and rule set and how it's put together reinforce each other and create like a clear like intention for an experience, more or less. Right. Like going through this, you know what the intention of this fucking game is. It's
exactly.
very clear.
Yeah. And just straight up vibes, like how much you want to play this fucking game. How much does the game make you want to play it because of how cool it is? So getting to the visuals of the game, art, style, layout. What are your thoughts on art, style, layout, visuals of this game?
It's funny because this is our first one with this system. So like,
but we've also here's the other thing too. It's not like our very first game.
It's the very first game I've ever. This is the very first TTRPG I've ever read.
Yeah, right. So this is not a bad one to start with. But you know, we've done like 20 plus fucking zines already too. So like we have a context for thoughts, you know. But what are your thoughts?
I mean, it's like a 9.
This be the first one.
It's like a 9. Like, I mean, the visuals are great. I mean, yeah, I mean, I really, really like this is like I've said this before to you, like this is not my usual style that I go for, but dude, it looks so cool. The backgrounds are all unique, all fit together, have this like motion of color. They have this like that very like hyper nuclear waste sludge highlighter feel. I like the art that's in there for like the muties and for the enemies. I think it's very cool. I really like the visuals. I like that it's easy to read. Like really, with everything going on, it's still incredibly easy to read. And it's not just like single down the middle text, which I do often like as well. But for this, I wouldn't want that. And it's not what it is. I like this one a lot. This is a pretty high for visuals. This is pretty high up there for me.
Yeah. I mean, because you know, even when the text is like stretched and rotated and mutated and stuff, like you said, it's still highlighted, popped off the fucking page, and pretty damn easy to read. And I think a text right down the middle, like you said, doesn't fit a sewer punk sludge thing where you literally eat rats on a stick and rock a fucking power glove. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm gonna agree with you. I mean, you know, compared to a lot of zines that we are gonna go through that do have just 1 or 2 rows of text, visually, I mean, again, that's one of the things that struck me very first was, I mean, if you watch the show, you know we fucking love us some Pink. It hits. I agree. So 9. Rule set. What are your thoughts on rule set? How do you feel about it? It's
really, I don't know. The thing is, like, first off, it's a really solid rule set. I really like dice pools. And I also always played as the that wizard in D&D that has portents. So I like the fact that you like have a choice of dice of numbers and like in your pool, and you pick them and use them as a resource. It's like, well, I'm gonna use a high one now, you know, while I have it. So pretty high, you know. What are you thinking?
You know, this is one of those ones where like we have to, like, I have to think of the other games that we've done zine wise, because we can't compare this to regular ones. So when I think of like some of my favorite zine like rule sets,
right,
I think this one is really clever.
I still think it's pretty high up. Like, you know, I'm gonna fucking play Bastards forever, and it's a zine rule set, and like this, I like this one a fucking lot. You know? Yeah,
I really like this one a lot. You know, what jumps into my head is games that I think are just fucking genius. Are like Maze Rats, Tunnel Goons. You know, like Fallen is really, really fantastic. The way they do a lot of stuff.
Tunnel Goons.
Oh, well, it's like one page. Just fucking read it, dude. Yeah. Just read the whole Haunted Almanac. Nate Trim, you know, he fucks. I don't know. I'm thinking, you know, we're never gonna. I just can't imagine ever getting a 10, because I think my favorite game is never gonna be your favorite game. I would love to find the game that would eventually we both give 10s on rule set to. So to me, it kind of starts at a 9, and I feel like honestly, I really love how all the I'm at like an 8 easy on this.
I'm at an easy 8 with this one too.
Yeah. I one of the things that really strikes me is how every single rule makes sense, reinforces all the rest of the rules, and even as far as like how you heal and like you and the negative feedback loop of like when it gets bad, it gets worse and worse and worse, and but you might not die, you could always just get healed and come back. So I really enjoy that a lot. I really like the mechanics, and there's not a single one where I would be like, I would do that a little different. So I really like that. Maybe escape. I don't know how I feel about the escape mechanic, having one random D20 roll, but you know, I think an 8 is really solid for this. I love this. I really want to play this system, and you can hack the fuck out of this system. And absolutely. Then vibes, bro.
Vibes are good. I think the whole like desperate mutant like ripping itself apart, eating other things. Like I think it goes really well. I think when you read through the art, you know what this feels like to play, and you feel grimy and gross and sludgy, but it's not like browns and like muted colored sludge. It's like that really great, what we've been talking about, like late 80s, highlighter sludge.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know. I feel like the disclaimer should be that this is our first time using this scoring system, so there's a chance that we're going to go back and re-rate stuff, just like we did with the other scoring system. As we gain more context.
I will say though, there's a big difference between zines and games. I guess I that's how we could separate it. It's like zines and games, right? I feel like as a zine, it's hard to be more successful at what a zine is supposed to be than this. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's funny because we're really gonna probably come out swinging with this one, just because it is like a really good example. Like, it is a really good example. Like, I would give this as an example of, like, if someone was like, "Wait, what do you mean a zine?" I would give this. Yeah, I would be like, this is how to make a game. Realistically, all of the words in this could probably fit on like 2 to 3 pages. Yeah.
But it was turned into a zine because the art fucks, the vibes fuck, like this whole thing. Like, I do think this is going to get a really high score, but I'm going to be honest, I really think it deserves it. And all the zines we've ever read, like, again, I think this is a perfect example of a zine and what I would describe a zine to be. So vibes on this, honestly, I'm between an 8 and a 9 on vibes.
I'm between an 8 and a 9 too. I'm kind of leaning towards a 9.
I'm kind of leaning towards a 9 too.
I really like how the rules reinforced the gross mutant thing, and then like how the art itself is exactly that as well. Like, I think it's a 9.
Yeah. I think so too.
So and, almost first outing with the new scoring system, almost a perfect score. So
yeah, I mean, we're getting there. Yes, absolutely. You absolutely can. The Weekly Scroll says this art fucks. Absolutely. So yeah, I think vibes are 9. And like I said, like, I don't think like going back and redoing this later is going to make it any less, Like, I genuinely think that
you're probably right with this one. This one was a pretty high. I guess I'm just like going out the gate with a new rating system, being like, yeah, we're going to start at the fucking top.
I think, again, this is a great one to start with, though, because, again, like, for a zine, this is exactly what I want. Visually, it tells you exactly what it fucking is. The vibes, like, every aspect of it tells you exactly what it is, and the rule set is good and reinforces itself constantly. Like, I just don't think I love it. I'm really excited to see some other games, and I really think what's gonna bring some scores down for some other ones is gonna be the visuals, because some of them are gonna be a lot less maximalist art punk. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's the only thing, but I think that even some of the other ones that are maximalist art punk are going to be, for me, like, less enjoyable to look through. Like, I enjoy reading this,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, not only that, I mean, the visuals are layout too. So if we have a game that is like pretty, like let's say Himbo's is only a zine, the minimalist style of that would still get high visuals for me because it's layout and art together. You know what I mean? So anyway, absolutely. So BDSM, Below Dwelling Super Mutants, after we chatted with Neon Rod on our last episode, again, come out fucking swinging with our new system that only has 3 scores instead of 5. Giving this one a 26 out of 30 on our first one. Have a feeling that might be the highest one. And knowing every other zine we've already gone through, which I think is like 17 of them, honestly, I feel good about that. I think that's exactly where it should be.
This is a really good one.
Yeah. So that is Below Dwelling Super Mutants. Neon Rot, again, seriously, thank you so much for coming on. If you're watching this and you haven't watched that interview, go listen to Neon Rot talk about their like art forward game design, which is really fantastic. That has been our episode. You can find us at the.weekly.scroll on Instagram. You can find us at weekly_scroll on Twitter. That's where you'll see most of our announcements and things. And please go check us out on The Adventure Archive on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Definitely helps us out. I think we're at almost 750 subs, dude. Like, crazy. And that's it. So check us out. It'll be a little while. I have no idea what we're doing next, but follow our socials that I just said, and that'll be it. So you guys all have a wonderful day, and we will talk to you all some other time. Bye.
Bye.